The Mandalorian did things a lot of the Star Wars fandom was afraid would not happen again. It gave us an adventure story that we had been waiting for, something true to the original intent of Star Wars. Yes, it is a bit different than anything we have ever seen. Not only was it the start of a live-action series, finally, but it follows a bounty hunter, and not any old bounty hunter, a Mandalorian bounty hunter. A culture we have only seen as secondary or even background characters in some cases. The Mandalorian has been widely acclaimed by fans and critics alike. I'd like to go back and take a look at why it was so popular and offer up a few of the Easter eggs and cameos from Season 1 and Season 2 today on Star Wars Fanatic. If you're new to the channel or haven't taken the creed yet, go on and hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications. Now, The Mandalorian is the first live-action Star Wars series. It is something we've been begging for since series spin-offs became a thing, and this show really delivered. It stayed true to the Star Wars universe and its own mythology from a galaxy far, far away. And it was a breath of fresh air. We had been hearing rumors that there was a Boba Fett series coming out, and everybody was getting excited about that. We thought this was it. But it wasn't. But what really made this show that is chock full of action, adventure, and a storyline that rivals even the Clone Wars animated series? It isn't only that it's a new and fresh. The sequel trilogy was new and fresh as well, but it was received with mixed reviews from the fandom. No, it's so much more than that. The Mandalorian not only showed the Star Wars fandom what the new Lucasfilm team was made of, but it brought in new viewers by way of Grogu, aka Baby Yoda. I get a lot of questions about the timeline of The Mandalorian. It takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi. That's 5 years after Luke Skywalker, Princess Leia, Han Solo, Chewbacca, and a couple droids and a band of rebels took down the Empire. The Emperor is dead, Darth Vader has been redeemed and died, all 5 years earlier. Now, there is a remnant of the Empire that is trying to come back into power and hold on to some control. However, they are scattered and have lost control. The New Republic, which was the Rebel Alliance at one time, is hunting the remaining Imperials down and trying to stabilize the galaxy. But the Outer Rim is not an easy place to tame, and that is evident by the different worlds we see in the series. The Empire is still very much present, but only controlled by a few Imperial officers and political agents. The first episode begins with the title character, henceforth called Mando, retrieving a bounty in Western-style outpost cantina. The music is also reminiscent of the old spaghetti westerns. His bounty is a blue mithril that has a price on his head. In the first 5 minutes, we see Mando kill 2 thugs to get to the mithril, and we all cheered. Not because of the killing, but because of the action that many had felt was missing from Star Wars. And not just the action, but the type of action. It reminded the core Star Wars fans of someone from Legends, which, by the way, is what the old expanded universe is called now. Someone that made Mandalorians famous. Boba Fett. Well, really, he was the first to wear the Mandalorian armor. We didn't get to see him in a whole lot of action in the original movies, but the stories that were written about him were on par with what we were seeing from the Mandalorian series so far. A great warrior that can take a lot and still come at them. Mando showed us what we had read about with Boba Fett, but in a different set of armor and with a different name. But this is about Mando. The further we get into the story, the more we get glimpses into Mandalorian culture. After the Empire had destroyed their home, of course. In a throwback to The Empire Strikes Back, Mando freezes his bounty in carbonite and turns him in for the ransom. He is then given another job, straight from an Imperial client. Mandalorians have had a mixed relationship with the Empire, but it is not beneath them to take on missions assigned by the Empire, if the price is right. The job is a big one. Retrieve a bounty. He's a bounty hunter, of course that's his assignment. But this job is a bit different. It is a child, a toddler if you will, but not any child, a child of the same species as Master Yoda. He was given no name at first, and he was just called Baby Yoda by viewers. This is the character that brought in the new viewers. They loved the cutesy Baby Yoda. From that moment on, the world went Baby Yoda crazy. They couldn't get enough of him, and Disney couldn't pump out the merchandise fast enough. Literally, the merchandise missed Christmas of the same year. So, Mando turns the child in and collects the reward, only to turn around and rescue the kid from the Imperials. From this moment on, it had been about finding Baby Yoda's people, the Jedi. But more than that, it was more about an adopted father and son relationship. Okay, so that's the short synopsis. The show has done a lot for the fandom. There have only been 16 episodes from 2 seasons, and the 3rd season isn't slated to release until sometime in 2022. Yeah, it's a long time to wait. Along the way, we have had a ton of Easter eggs and cameos from other areas of the Star Wars franchise, and many more are to come. So, if you haven't seen it yet, check it out. It's worth the wait for Season 3. So now I'll talk about some of the cameos. The first was Cobb Vanth. Don't recognize the name? You may not if you haven't read any of the new canon novels. Cobb Vanth was a slave who freed himself and acquired some Mandalorian armor from Jawas. Not just any Mandalorian armor, Boba Fett's armor. He then used the armor to turn lawless Tatooine into a safe place to live. Mando happens upon him and strikes a bargain for the armor Cobb Vanth wears. The second was Bo-Katan Kryze, or as I jokingly call her, Bo-Karen. She started out in the Clone Wars as a member of a terrorist organization called Death Watch. The group was setting out to conquer Mandalore, their homeworld, from pacifists that were ruining their culture and history. Bo-Katan tells Mando where he can find a Jedi. Next was Ahsoka Tano. You may remember her as Anakin Skywalker's Padawan during the Clone Wars. She has also been in Star Wars Rebels and had a novel written about her. She is an extremely popular character among Star Wars fans. She is the first Jedi that Mando tries to hand Baby Yoda off to, but she declines. The next cameo I'm going to mention is my favorite Star Wars character. None other than Boba Fett himself. Yes, he survived the Sarlacc. This is 5 years after that event. The pit he fell into during the beginning of Return of the Jedi. He's tracking Mando so he can retrieve his armor from him. He then shows Mando his lineage and that his father was an actual Mandalorian who passed the armor down to him. By the way, his father was Jango Fett if you didn't know. There's another cameo. Watch this part with caution. It is the second Jedi that Mando encounters, Luke Skywalker. Luke actually saves the Mandalorian team and a couple of others from an Imperial remnant and agrees to take Baby Yoda on for Jedi training. It's a touching moment as Mando and the child have become very close. Now the show's full of different Easter eggs as well. In one season you see some Jawas rummaging through scrap metal and one pulls out one of General Grievous's arms and holds it up. The bad aim of stormtroopers is mentioned a few times. In one episode, a Republic prison guard is played by the actor who did the voice for Anakin Skywalker in the Clone Wars series. Dave Filoni himself makes a cameo as an X-Wing pilot. The Mos Eisley Cantina from A New Hope makes an appearance, and inside there is a droid that was once employed by Jabba the Hutt, EV-99. The droid was the torture droid for Jabba the Hutt in Return of the Jedi. I'm glad he was able to find gainful employment after his last gig. Nonetheless, he found gainful employment in the same cantina that wouldn't allow droids to even step foot in the bar. The cantina became progressive and all-inclusive. In another scene, you see another of Jabba's torture droids, 8D8. In smaller Easter eggs, Life Day is mentioned. It's like Christmas for the Star Wars galaxy. One character uses a Gungan accent. Mando uses a disintegration against multiple characters that refers to Darth Vader telling Boba Fett not to use disintegration against Han Solo. There's a pit droid trio from the Phantom Menace, and the high ground is used in another scene. But other than General Grievous's arm, I think my favorite Easter egg / cameo comes in the form of 2 stormtroopers. The 2 were originally seen on the Death Star in A New Hope, as Obi-Wan Kenobi was sneaking by to release the tractor beam that held the Millennium Falcon from leaving. The same two stormtroopers were again spotted on Scarif during Rogue One, a Star Wars story. And now, it seems they survived Scarif and the Death Star and the fall of the Empire for that matter, and have now been seen in The Mandalorian. Okay, I know I've went over a lot of things about The Mandalorian in this video. I will do further videos breaking down each episode soon. In those, I will include the cameos and Easter eggs for that episode. Leave me a comment below as to your thoughts on the show. Also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to stay up to date on my reviews of The Mandalorian and breakdowns of the important scenes. So, don't forget, comment, subscribe, turn on notifications, and share the video. Let's blow this channel up, and don't forget to check out my other videos on Mandalorian and general Star Wars lore, theories, and fanfictions. Thank you for watching, and remember, this is the way, the only way.